Hello, this is Fly and welcome to episode 10 of our Halo 5 Force tutorial series. Today we're going to go ahead and discuss some really cool stuff called map randomization. And basically this is a very simple and very efficient method for creating maps that are random every time the round or the game is started. And this is such a simple and powerful tool that will definitely help create a variety of environments on the fly every time you start a new round. So let's go ahead and get started then. I'm actually, creating a landmass here in order to place a number of objects here. And the way that we're going to do this is the following. We're going to go ahead and clutter this map with a lot of random objects. And these objects are going to have a label assigned to them. So let's go ahead and use some natural objects this time around. And we're going to use title because, we're in the map title. And we're going to go ahead and start with adding rocks. Let's go ahead and fill the map with some rocks. Okay, so this is what you want to go ahead and do. Every time you place an object that you want to randomize, you want to go ahead and assign a label to it. So for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to use label user alpha. And this is going to make a lot of sense later down the video, but for now we're going to go ahead and fill the map with random objects in order to go ahead and create that clutter. So basically you want to flood the map with objects. Like you want them to like barely fit together. However, keep in mind that you do want to go ahead and assign a label every time you add a new object, otherwise it won't be randomized. It's easy to forget this because this process can be tedious at times, but once you get it done, it can be very, very satisfying to see a map that is different every time you play it. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with some rocks, and then we'll move on to some grass, some trees, some other things, and we're going to go ahead and add some cool stuff over here. So basically, since almost every object in Halo 5 Forge can have a label assigned to it, you can pretty much randomize almost everything in this game. In that way, you can go ahead and randomize things from environmental objects all the way to weapons and vehicles and a lot of other things. So it's gonna go ahead and take a look at this real quick. Okay, so I finished cluttering the map. This wasn't too hard to do because you can actually weld these objects together and duplicate them, and then weld the duplicated objects, and that actually helps you clutter the map extremely fast. It should take you about 10 minutes if you use this method. But anyway, we have this map cluttered with all of these objects that are mixed together, and of course we need to go ahead and sculpt this map. So we need to create an object that can actually delete these objects at random. And how many objects to delete really depends on the size of the map and how many objects there are on the map. So in this case, if you look at the bottom right corner of the screen, you're going to see that you have 528 objects on the map, mostly composed of these objects. So we want to go ahead and remove a percentage of them. And after some trial and error, I managed to figure out that 50% seems to be one of the better percentages of objects to delete. So basically, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to delete half of these objects, and basically after that we're going to go ahead and navigate to the map to see how it looks. So we're going to go ahead and make a few attempts, and we're going to make 3 attempts in this tutorial to go ahead and figure out how we go ahead, how it looks. So let's go ahead and get started then. Okay, so for the purpose of this tutorial, I decided to use a switch object to allow me to delete these objects at random and will. And we're gonna go ahead and add a script here. It's a very simple script, it's incredibly efficient. So we're gonna use the interacted event. After that, we're gonna use the despawn action. The reason why we can't use the spawn action is because an object can only spawn itself, but it cannot spawn another object. However, if you use despawn action, an object can actually despawn another object depending on the parameters that is set up over here. So in this case, every object here is labeled with user alpha. So we're gonna go ahead and add label alpha. And we're also gonna go ahead and choose the parameter select random. So we're gonna use 64 because that's the maximum amount that we can use in these selections. But we're gonna go ahead and duplicate these actions a couple of times in order to be able to delete half of the objects on the map. So let's go ahead and just duplicate replicate this, it's very simple. You just use the exact same actions and parameters as last time, and that way we can go ahead and get started on randomizing this map. Alright, so just give me a bit while I go ahead and remove this here, add this here, sorry. Okay, so we're almost done with the actions that we're going to use. So basically, we're gonna go ahead and remove about half of them, approximately. And let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and push this button, and we'll see how this map looks after we make the objects disappear. Okay, so half of the objects are gone. Looks like this time the object to delete these objects decided to delete most of the rocks on the map and left the trees and bushes mostly alone. Looks like a couple of hills on the map were also removed as well, so it's a mostly flat terrain with a lot of trees in here. Let me go ahead and take care of that real quick. Alright, cool. Let's take a look and see how this map looks. So it looks like most of the rocks were actually left alone in this area. And then the central part of the map is mostly flat and open, although there are some hills and some trees for cover, so that's pretty good. Alright, so what we're gonna go ahead and do now, we're gonna exit this map. And then we're gonna go back in the map so everything can be reset. And we're gonna go ahead and run another test. So we're gonna run 2 more tests to see how this map looks. When you're randomizing maps like this, you do wanna go ahead and do use a lot of trial and error to determine what's the appropriate percentage for the objects you want to delete, and you also want to test and test and test to see if this percentage that you chose is the optimal percentage to remove the objects and provides the most maneuverability, or provides a good balance between maneuverability and aesthetics and a lot of other things. Basically, you don't want it to be too open or too cramped. So basically, a good rule of thumb is to have players be able to navigate through the center of the map. Otherwise, if you make them navigate around the map, it's going to be very annoying for both sides of the team. So let's go ahead and run another test and see how this works out. Okay, looks like most of the rocks were deleted once again. Looks like it's similar to last time, but there seem to be more bushes this time around. And but there's quite a lot of trees over here. It looks like we're able to navigate to the center of the map, but it does seem a little bit too open for my taste. I want it to be a little bit more closed off, so I'm gonna go ahead and make some adjustments to those parameters in a moment. But I'm gonna go ahead and run a final test before I do so, and that way go ahead and see how this map would look like that. And also, I don't know why these plants are floating in there. It's kind of annoying. Alright, so let's go ahead and try again one more time to see how it works out. Other than that, if it doesn't really look too well, I can always go ahead and just calibrate the numbers and see if I can tone it down a few notches. Okay, so let's try again. This would be our final test for the 50% object reduction on the map, so let's see how it works. Okay, this time it looks like most of the rocks were left alone, and okay, this looks pretty good actually. Let's see if we can go ahead and navigate to the middle of the map. Yeah, so this method actually varies greatly, but if you want to make the map a little bit more specific, you can actually just use numbers and additional labels to make the object prioritize some objects over others at random, and that way you can create a seed system that would allow it to be able to do just that. But that is a little bit more complex, and I've never tried it myself, but theoretically it should be possible, and maybe I can do that for another video. So looks like this time around the map is forcing me, the player, to navigate around the map. That's not a very good thing because it's not enjoyable to be like at the edge of the map like that. So let's see here. Okay, so it looks like this side of the map there's plenty of clutter in this this iteration of the randomized map. So that's you know, it's alright, but you know, I just don't like the fact that you need to go around the map in order to navigate through it, especially when you're on the edge like that. So I'm gonna run another additional test. I'm a little bit curious about how it would look, how often this would actually happen. So let's go ahead and try it one more time. Okay, so let's go ahead and try one more time, just for curiosity's sake. Okay, looks like the rocks were mostly left alone this time around. There seems to be a good mix between trees and rocks on this part of the map. This other part of the map seems to be pretty open. Okay, so this part of the map is pretty open, and the other side of the map is cluttered with a lot of rocks. So it looks like half the map was already deleted, and let's see where you can navigate in a map like this. So yeah, looks like you would need to go around again, but that's fine. Anyway, this takes some trial and error to figure out what the right percentage of objects to remove from the map. So I guess we could say I would have to go a little bit over 50% in order to provide a more even playing field for the players. So let's go ahead and add a little bit more stuff here. Okay, so the actions in this script have already been maxed out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it as another script, and it pretty much does the exact same thing. And we're gonna go ahead and despawn an additional 64 objects from the map. And we're gonna save this map. And then after that, we're gonna go ahead and exit the map and go back in. Don't worry about the objects coming back after they've been deleted. When the objects are deleted by scripting or you know, gameplay elements, it's never permanent. They do come back. The only way they're deleted permanently is if you delete them in Forge. But if you were to delete them through gameplay or scripting, then they do come back, and that would allow you to be able to, you know, proceed with randomization. Alright, let's try one more time and see, cause whoop, that's a little bit too much. Yeah, it's a little bit too much. So looks like nearly every rock has been deleted. Looks like every rock has been deleted from the map, actually. It looks like bushes and trees were left alone, and most of the hills are gone too, so now you have a flat map where only a handful of trees. So this is an example of me overdoing it. But still, you know, the map still works. It's just a matter of trial and error to figure out what's the optimal amount of objects to delete from the map. So that should be all for now. Hopefully you'll be able to create some cool randomized map and tweak it and morph it in your way to see how you can work with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, this episode of Halo 5 Wars tutorial. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.